Hey, what's up guys, Millsy here, and in this video, I'm going to discuss my experience during the beta weekend for Icarus, and in the background will be footage of just me exploring around the forest biome that we had to play with. I have a couple gameplay videos on my channel of this game, so if you'd like to watch those first, click on the tag above and it will take you to my Icarus playlist. First and foremost, let's just get it out of the way. Did I enjoy playing the beta? I did. I really did. I had a blast playing it. I seem to be some sort of magnet for bears in the forest biome, but hey, it led to some pretty funny freakouts, I guess. I wanted to wait a few days to make this video so I can fully digest my experience over the weekend so I can relay not only how I felt about the beta, but also to see what some other folks were saying about the game as well. There is a plethora of content right now over this game on YouTube, which is awesome. My video may not get discovered, but hey, I'm glad to see the excitement over this game nonetheless, because let me tell you, this was a refreshing game to play. So I'm going to go over my personal experience, then go over what I'm seeing as somewhat of a response from the community. After leaving your drop pod, you're released into this beautiful world that they have created. In a previous video regarding some of my concerns, I mentioned that the world looks somewhat aged, and I was terribly wrong. This game is hands down beautiful. Being that I'm from the Pacific Northwest, the game literally looked like I was in the Cascade Forest and mountains. I have to tip my hat to all the artists and world builders for this game. I am sorry I ever said it looked aged. Perhaps the footage I was looking at on YouTube was just poorly rendered. The building in this game reminds me a lot of Valheim, a little bit of Rust, but in another way also very unique. Figuring out at first how to rotate certain buildings, building windows and doors took a few minutes, but after I figured it out, I felt really dumb. As the bottom right hand corner of the screen tells you to hold R to rotate building components, and after that, it's not hard to figure out. When you build a door frame, build a door and throw that puppy on the frame. Same with windows. I like the building stability system they have in place, where you have to make sure the building piece is stable or it will wiggle around and destroy itself due to instability. The building models look fantastic. So when you're done building your cool looking base, you can't help but stare and admire the view with scenery. Even then, when your structure is on fire, it looks freaking epic. And I love that fire doesn't just stay on the buildings if you've built amongst the trees. The fire will spread to trees as well, and they will get a charred look with the leaves burning off and the ground having an ashy look. Gameplay wise, I genuinely feel like this game is like a survival RPG game with all the different talent trees to choose from and the tech tree also being massive. The combat in this game I feel is in kind of an okay state. But let me elaborate on that. I like the mechanic of stealth kills. The weapons in tier 1 and tier 2 feel like the weapons that belong in tier 1 and tier 2. I do have to say though that the crossbow is a bit off. When aiming, I feel like the arrow drop off is a bit more than the bow. I would rather just use the longbow instead of the crossbow. That was just my experience. But with the reload time of the crossbow, I can just get more shots off with the longbow for slightly less damage. Aside from that, the spears handle exactly how I would expect. The knives also handle exactly how I would expect. The way you hold a knife looks badass too. It reminds me a lot of like CSGO. I do have to say this about the animations though. They are rough and need work, especially when you're in third person. When you crouch to stealth, it's like your legs snap in half in 0.1 milliseconds, then snap back. It looks bad and feels bad. So hopefully that gets some work. I wish when you land, there was some sort of instruction to get you started. Not like a full-fledged tutorial like move by pushing WSAD, but like just some text tips that may pop up in the beginning stating push F to pick up brush for sticks, stones or oxite. To keep from O2 starvation, place oxite stones in your O2 box on your character screen. It doesn't need to be a full-fledged guide through building or telling us any more than that, like the basics of survival and gathering. Just something to help folks out that may be new to survival type games where this may be their first one that, they want to try because the game looks so good. I'm not new to survival games by any means. I watched the developer streams and I still forgot to put the oxide stones in my mask. I went straight to the blueprint for the oxygen recycler where it basically cooks the oxide. If I'd remembered to put the Oxide in my character screen O2 box, I could have focused more on tools or building blueprints to stay out of storms. This weekend was very limited on what we were able to do. I see it as a way to introduce us to the basics of survival in this game without the harsh storms or worrying about the exotics. That also kind of brings me to my first point, where I hear people talking negatively about this game. It's a beta. And there are certain core systems that every developer has to ensure it works correctly before releasing a game. So any bugs we come across, it's easy for Rocketworks to narrow it down to this weekend's content that we were able to play, fix it for the next build, and hopefully move on from those bugs and capture new bugs every weekend. Not all bugs will perhaps get caught, but this allows Rocketworks to easily pinpoint when and where bugs are occurring and fix them. So please remember, this is beta, not an early access release of a game, not a fully released game. It's a beta in which we are testing. And sadly, I think this is mainly a problem with the Steam platform. Allowing so many developers to release early games, people almost forget that when something is in beta, a true form of beta, we're actually supposed to be testing the game. Even games that aren't on Steam do this too. Like games that have been in development for over a decade and are still in alpha. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Star Citizen. One question I have to marketing: if you buy the regular version of the game, do you still get an outpost? There seems to be a lot of mixed information floating around. As advertised on Steam, the only way to get outposts is through the deluxe edition, providing 2. Then other folks are also stating that the regular purchase of the game gets you 1 outpost, although that's not advertised at all. Even on the website, it's not super clear. So as it stands, I just have to assume that only through pre-ordering the deluxe edition is the only way to get outposts. And then my next question: after the game is released, can people purchase these outposts through perhaps like exotic currency? If anyone has any information on this, I'll pin the comment below. So yeah, I just like a little more communication from Rocketworks regarding outposts. Another thing I see people complain about is the timer on missions, not realizing it's a session-based survival game. It clearly states that in the Steam description. So why are people complaining about a timer on a mission that's 21 days? Most popular survival games have some sort of wipe, like Ark or Rust. It's like some folks didn't even read the description or watch any trailers of the game before playing. Quickly, let me read you the Steam description. Icarus is a session-based PvE survival game for up to 8 co-op players or solo. Explore a savage alien wilderness in the aftermath of terraforming gone wrong. Survive long enough to mine exotic matter, then return to orbit to craft more advanced tech. Meet your deadline or be left behind forever. And if you're still tuned into this video, please go watch the lore trailer for Icarus on the Steam page. It's the first trailer that pops up. It not only explains why you start with primitive tools, but it also explains the game loop as well. Here's a simplified version of the game loop. Drop down from the space station in your drop pod ship, survive the elements of Icarus while hunting down the exotic matter, mine the exotic matter, head back into orbit, sell the exotic matter for what we assume is better items or blueprints for future drops. It just seems like people are upset that this flat out is not a different game, even to the extent of calling it a scam. It's not falsely advertised at all. I will not get behind the mindset of calling a game a scam because it's just not what you wanted, but was clearly advertised as is, not only on Steam, but by the developer streams as well. Nothing they did in those streams guided people to think that the game was any different than what we got to play. Granted, stuff is locked right now in beta, like some talents and 2 tiers of tech and much of the forest biome map, but we're also running tests that Rocketworks needs us to run to find bugs before the initial release of the game. There was a video that Rocketworks released on their YouTube channel regarding the opening of beta. I made a comment on this video stating, "I've been looking forward to playing this game for so long. I can't wait to play it this weekend." It then received a comment during the weekend saying, "Disappointed yet?" I feel like people have this preconceived notion that the game is just bad or will be abandoned by Dean Hall and Rocketworks because they don't like Dean for leaving DayZ and Bohemian Interactive 7 years ago. Let me simply follow up with this. Dean left DayZ in 2014, and here we are in late 2021, and DayZ still hasn't done anything significant. So is that Dean Hall or the folks at the top of BI that possibly frustrated him enough to leave? There are plenty of negative reviews, even recently, about DayZ. I played DayZ and didn't like it, and that was in 2018, 4 years after he left. So clearly DayZ is not up to snuff for a lot of people even today. All I'm saying is, don't hate this game because someone left the studio 7 years ago. That shit happens all the time. If you don't like this game, don't like it because of the actual game. I find that shit tedious and dumb that people hold a grudge on something over 7 years ago for leaving a project in which they get their stories wrong or don't even know the full story. Every YouTube video covering why Dean left says something different. Some even claiming that they know someone within Bohemian Interactive who spilt the beans on why he left. If I'm miserable at my job and the guys that make the final calls and decisions are constantly working against me or don't share the same vision, especially on a creative project like a game, why would I stay? Anyways, that's all I'm going to say about that. Give this game a shot. It's worth it. It's like a survival role-playing game where progression is kept after each time you leave the planet. It's visually stunning with a game loop and lore that allow constant expansion of the game. If you enjoyed this video, for the few of you that are probably left watching this, I hope I earned your like and subscription. Let me know what you thought down below of the game if you played it, or if you're just simply interested in the game. I will be making more content around Icarus based around each beta weekend and my experiences with all the added content. Of course, when the game gets fully released, I will continue making content on the game as well. Good luck out there, prospectors.